Hello, everybody. My name is Chad Carwein, and I'm the Sustainability Manager for ECU. I'm recording this presentation for guest lectures and classes, for faculty and staff meetings, and for other events and activities planned for this fall. Today, I'm going to be talking about the university's sustainability program, what the university is doing to improve campus sustainability, and how students, staff, and faculty can get more involved. So I'm going to go on and pull up my presentation here. All right. So I like to start these presentations off with just a little word association so that everybody's on the same page, speaking the same language, and has a basic understanding of what sustainability is. So usually I'll go around the room, have a couple people throw out some ideas, and usually I get somebody that says recycling. Well, we call recycling the gateway drug to sustainability. If we can get you thinking about reducing waste, maybe we can get you thinking about alternative transportation, how your diet affects your personal carbon footprint, and things like that. And as we go around the room, without fail, I usually get some stares, people wondering, what the heck is this tree-hugging hippie with a man bun and a beard presenting to my class or at this meeting today? No, that's not a picture of me. It's just a Google stock image. But what all these things relate to is the environment. Sustainability also deals with the economy as well as society. And so you can think of it like a Venn diagram. And at the intersection of economic prosperity, social equity, and environmental stewardship is this moving target called sustainability that we're chasing. Other ways to think about it, the triple bottom line has actually become a major trend, more than just a passing fad in the world of international corporations. Basically, this involves, again, sort of those three realms, economy, society, and environment, except here they're calling it the triple P approach, or the triple bottom line, giving equal value to people, prosperity, and planet. Now, the field of sustainability has grown over the past few decades, and our understanding of it and ways to explain it have become quite complex. But this is another diagram that I think is very simple, but gets us to sort of shift our focus on how we make decisions. So again, here we see those three pillars of sustainability: economy, society, and environment. But the circles are just sized differently and arranged in different fashion. So first, the smallest circle we have is the economy, and it's enclosed in a larger circle labeled society. And the reason for that is that the economy wouldn't exist without society, without people to provide labor and manufacturing systems, people to provide service or provide in service industries, and people to innovate, come up with new ideas for products and technologies. So the economy is completely dependent on society. Now, both of those circles, the economy and society, are enclosed in an even larger one labeled the environment. And for the reason for this is at the most basic level, the environment provides us, people, humans, with three fundamental things that are crucial to life as we know it: clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and healthy soil to grow food in. So it's clear to us, why we depend on the environment, but we can extend that analogy, and the economy depends on the environment as well. Think about all the natural resources that we extract from the earth, to provide energy into our economic systems, the raw materials that make the goods that we sell and exchange through our economic systems. We as people and our economy are directly dependent on the environment. And I think what this illustrates is the need to shift our focus and place more of an emphasis on protecting the environment. There's a lot of social justice issues going on in the world right now, and those are extremely important, and people need to have basic rights and needs met before they can really start thinking about it. But we do need to put more of an emphasis on protecting the environment if we're all going to survive together. Why does it matter for ECU though? Well, for one thing, ECU is part of the UNC system. And the UNC system consists of 17 colleges and universities across the state of North Carolina from the mountains to the coast. And in 2009, the UNC system adopted a sustainability policy. In that policy, they lay out goals and objectives for each of the 17 institutions. Now for ECU, I started here in March 2016, so about 4.5 years ago, and quickly realized that we really needed a plan, that we needed to put together a team, and that's just what we did. Starting in 2017, we gathered a team of over 60 students, staff, faculty, and a handful of community members, and broke up into 4 different focus areas and created goals and strategies for achieving those goals in climate change mitigation, campus grounds, materials management, and academics and research. And for a city or for a business or for an organization, you wouldn't see that academics and research section in a sustainability plan. But for us, that's the area where we can actually have the biggest impact. We have thousands of students each year that come to the university, and they can learn about sustainability ideas and concepts, and they can take them, integrate them into their own personal lives, but also take these ideas with them beyond their time at ECU into their professional careers. We can also have faculty that are engaged in research related to sustainability, and that's really where we can have the biggest impact. Now, the timing of developing and getting adopted by the Chancellor and his Executive Council, the Sustainability Plan, couldn't have been better. In 2016, shortly after I started the university, the former Chancellor Staten took the university on a process of updating our strategic plan. And in that strategic plan, we lay out 3 commitments for ECU. The first and foremost is student success. Obviously, that's why we're all here. We want our students to succeed. The second one is public service, and that builds off of the motto for the university, which is servir, to serve. The third commitment in our strategic plan is regional transformation. And usually when I bring this up, I go around the room and I ask how many people are from Eastern North Carolina. And usually in any given class, there's typically about 25% of the students that are from Eastern North Carolina or more. And for those that aren't from this region, just a quick history lesson, Eastern North Carolina, basically everything east of I-95 to the coast before you get to the beach and Outer Banks and stuff. It's very rural areas, a lot of low income populations. This region has historically been underrepresented and underserved when you look at other parts of the state. And ECU really has an opportunity to take on a leadership role, and it has done just that for several years. But to lead in transforming this region is really one of the driving missions of East Carolina University. So the importance of bringing that up is that because those commitments had already been laid out, we were able to integrate them into the sustainability plan and connect nearly all of our goals and strategies to 1, if not 2, or possibly in some cases all 3 of those commitments in the strategic plan. And that's very important because that means the sustainability plan is helping the university achieve its overarching goals and objectives. Now, when it comes to the campus master plan, this isn't just some document, big binder that sits on a shelf and collects dust. This is really the guiding blueprint for the future development of our physical campus. There was, for instance, 30 years ago, the campus master plan had an entire section dedicated, to the need for a new student center on main campus. And what did we do? About a year and a half ago, we opened the doors to a brand new 220,000 square foot state-of-the-art student center on main campus. Now, the most recent update to the campus master plan is focusing on our health sciences campus and the need for a new medical education building, as well as what we're calling the millennial campus. And that's an area known as the warehouse district in Uptown Greenville. And the university has plans to renovate, some of these old warehouses and engage in public-private partnerships with investors to, do all sorts of different academic and business endeavors. So because we just recently updated that, but we already had the sustainability plan, we were able to integrate sustainability into our campus master plan update. In terms of awards and recognition, the university has been a bicycle-friendly university at the silver level since 2014, and then in 2018 we renewed that. So we're a bicycle-friendly university through 2022. Next, we have Tree Campus USA. We've been at Tree Campus USA for 4 years in a row and intend to keep earning that designation moving forward. Most recently, we earned the status of B Campus USA, and in a later slide, I'll talk about some of the efforts that went into that, as well as why that is an important distinction. We've also participated for the first time ever in the ECU STARS program, which stands for the Sustainability Tracking, Assessment, and Rating System. In 2017, we earned a bronze rating in that program. And then recently, just earlier in 2020, we submitted our second report and moved up to a silver rating. By participating in all of these different designation and rating programs, we, for the first time ever in 2019, were included in the Princeton Review's Guide to Green Schools. This is a part of their best 385 colleges report that they put out, and this is the first time. It's a big deal for ECU and a valuable recruiting tool as well. Now, I throw this section in here to get a little shock value out of my presentation. Depending on what class level I'm presenting to or what group, I get all kinds of different answers. But take a moment to think about how much you think the university spends on electricity in a given year. And I'll tell you that when I'm presenting to an entry-level class, 1,000 level class, a lot of freshmen that probably haven't paid a lot of bills on their own yet, they'll toss out $100,000, $500,000, something like that. As I move up and start to present to the upper level courses with juniors and seniors that have lived off campus and paid some of their own bills, they start to get a little more accurate with their guesses. But I bet you didn't think over $10 million. And in fact, this number was as high as $12 million when I first started here. So almost $1 million a month is the university's electric bill. Gas is a significantly cheaper resource. We use it to heat our buildings and our water supply. Still, over $3.5 million a year spent on natural gas. And finally, water. Depending on how you look at it, we're fortunate here in Eastern North Carolina that we haven't had a drought in over a decade or longer. On the flip side, though, at least twice in the 4.5 years that I've lived here, with Hurricane Matthew, half the city was underwater, right? The huge flooding due to that major storm. We narrowly dodged a bullet with Dorian, which slammed the Outer Banks. And these storms are considered 500-year storms, and they're happening every 2 to 5 years around here. So that means we have an abundance of water. So we have relatively cheap water rates. Still, over $1.5 million a year spent on water consumption. Now, you got to think about the fact that we're like a big town in and of ourselves. We have about 6,000 students living on campus, hundreds and hundreds of acres that we have to irrigate. So you can see how these numbers quickly add up, as well as over 7 million square feet of building footprint that we have to provide electricity and condition the buildings with natural gas. So in facilities, at least, we try to look at these numbers as to avoid these costs rather than just really high expense. And if you're sitting there thinking, I'm glad I don't have to pay these bills, the catch is we're all paying these bills. ECU is a part of the UNC system. We're a public institution, and our utility budget comes from the state, from state funds, from taxpayer dollars every year. So everybody that is working and paying taxes in this state is paying these bills. So really, we ought to feel inclined to try and do our part to conserve these resources and avoid these costs. Goals. Governor Cooper signed Executive Order 80 in fall of 2018, around the same time that we got our sustainability plan adopted. And in that executive order, he lays out a goal to reduce energy consumption in state-owned buildings 40% by 2025. The UNC system in the sustainability policy has a goal of climate neutrality by 2050. And both of these, at the rate we're going, are stretch goals. But I do think that, in the near future, hopefully we'll be in a better budget situation. Technology will advance and the price will come down so that we can continue to make significant strides on conservation. In terms of progress, our landfill is about 37%, but that number is kind of inflated. It includes things like construction and demolition debris, electronics recycling, cooking oil, and other types of miscellaneous products that we divert from the landfill. However, our recycling program, which is a dual stream program, I'll talk more about that later, our recycling rate is only about 30%. So that's just under 1 out of every 3 plastic bottles, metal soda cans, cardboard boxes, all these things that could be diverted from the landfill. We're only recycling, just under 1/3 of them. So that's something that we can definitely improve upon. The university really needs to invest in the infrastructure. But sustainability is a team sport, and that means that it requires everybody to participate. So we really need everybody thinking about how they can do their part, to help reduce waste, conserve energy and water, and more. Speaking of water, water consumption has dropped 50% since 2003. We've actually made really good strides on that. And here's where we are towards that 40% reduction goal, just a little over halfway there. And the reality is that the first 20%, is going to be a lot easier to achieve than the next 5, and especially the last 10% towards that 40% goal. What we do in terms of trying to become more energy efficient is we have the low-hanging fruit, the implementations and upgrades to systems that we can do that are low cost up front and have a quick payback period. So everything else moving forward is going to be much more expensive to try and conserve more energy, but we've got to keep going at it. Here's a look at our greenhouse gas profile, aka our carbon footprint. I've been compiling our carbon footprint and calculating it, tracking it since I started here in 2016. But you see there that we have fiscal year 2005. That's the baseline in Executive Order 80 that also calls for a 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. And these two are tied very closely together, energy consumption and our greenhouse gas emissions. As you can see here, purchased electricity, which on this slide is the orange in the bottom graphs. Purchased electricity alone is between 40 to 45% of our carbon footprint. Then we have scope 1, which is in the blue, about 25%, 1/4 of our carbon footprint each year. That consists of things like other on-campus stationary sources of energy, direct transportation, refrigerants, chemicals, fertilizers. And then the last category is scope 3, which is sort of a catch-all category. It's roughly 1/3 of our emissions inventory each year. And that's everything from, faculty, staff, and student commuting, basically how people get to and from air travel, which I'm anticipating our numbers for the previous fiscal year and this current fiscal year to be, significantly lower due to, COVID-19 precautions. People leaving campus, employees working remotely, limiting, no air travel associated with the university, which usually makes up about 10 to 12% each year. Other things include solid waste, wastewater, paper purchasing. So again, recycling is really important. And if we all do our part and participate in the recycling program, we can divert more waste from the landfill. And, that contributes to our carbon footprint because everything that goes to the landfill breaks down. And eventually, over time, sometimes hundreds of years for, like plastics and styrofoam, those things break down, but they also release methane when they do. And methane is a much more potent greenhouse gas. It's about 23 times more effective at capturing heat than carbon dioxide. So just a quick look at our carbon footprint, greenhouse gas emissions inventory. So I'll pause right here and just provide a bit more information about my position at the university. I am in facilities, which is under campus operations. And the bulk of my work, it is within campus operations and working with folks, who behind the scenes are keeping the lights on, keeping the water running, keeping the grass cut. But I also get to do a lot of other unique things to a facilities employee. I get to work with students on course projects. I get to do, presentations, guest lectures like this. I also get to work with faculty on integrating sustainability into the curriculum, hosting events to highlight the latest research and work being done in the field. And then finally, the last section of my presentation today, I'll talk about the outreach efforts that we have to raise awareness and educate people and get people more involved with sustainability efforts. So in terms of course offerings, you can see we have so many different subjects that offer courses related to sustainability. A good one, if you want to just sort of get a good introduction to the field of sustainability, would be Planning 1900 Sustainable Cities course. I know it can be taken as an elective for several different degree programs, but this just gives you a sample. We have hundreds of courses that are related to sustainability in our course catalog. As many course subjects that we have, we also have faculty, doing research, engaged in, research that's contributing to the body of knowledge around sustainability, everything from health and communication to planning and psychology, a lot of subject areas that you might not even associate with environmental issues, but are sustainability related. Our selection of degree programs in terms of majors, we have environmental health, urban and regional planning, recreation and park management. There are concentrations within the geography bachelor's degree programs, certificates that people can earn, graduate programs in sustainable tourism and environmental health, and then a PhD in coastal resources management. This is probably one of the most enjoyable and rewarding parts of my job, is getting to work very closely with students on capstone projects, doing energy and waste audits, service learning activities, working at the community garden, talk about later, and helping campus departments get certified in the Green Office program. Just last spring, I had one class that broke up into 5 groups and took on all these different projects, everything from green purchasing guidelines to evaluating, the cost benefit analysis of different technologies. And, these are great projects and for students because they give them, real life experience, working hands-on, applying the knowledge that they learn in their classroom studies to solving problems. And, doing something like this can really give a student who's just graduated a leg up in the job search and in landing a position. So they're mutually beneficial as well. Not only do the students get the benefits of working on these projects, but we get these resources and we get this information and knowledge, from the work that they do, that we can then turn into a project and implement right here on campus. Again, here's a look at all the different groups I work with sort of behind the scenes in campus operations. And I'm just going to touch on a couple of things on each of these slides moving forward. So in terms of reducing energy consumption, all of our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems in the buildings are automated and controlled from a central point. We participated about 3 or 4 years ago in a lighting upgrade project where we replaced over 30,000 light fixtures with LEDs. And then we've also been using more and more alternative fuels. I think the best example is ECU Transit. All of our new buses will run on CNG, which is compressed natural gas. Compared to diesel, compressed natural gas results in about 25% less emissions. And when you think of buses idling at the bus stop, where there's dozens and dozens of students waiting around, this also has, positive effects on our health. Our air results, in less health issues like asthma and lung disease and things like that. So, there's a lot of ties between sustainability effort and public health. in terms of reducing water consumption, a lot of this goes into when we renovate older buildings and replace outdated fixtures. So adding sink faucet aerators, which reduce the flow but not the pressure, water efficient dishwashers, low flow toilets and shower heads, leak detection programs. And the bottle refill stations don't really save water, so to speak, but they do allow us to kind of get an idea of how many plastic bottles we're keeping out of the landfill by refilling bottles, because it has a little tally indicator on the fixture. And these are going to be really important come this fall with our precautions around COVID-19, because we're going to discourage people from using the water fountains because you have to touch, to turn it on, and you have to put your mouth down close to it. Whereas with the bottle fill stations, you just put your bottle under there and the sensor does it. It's just a lot more safe and sanitary. This is actually really important, this slide right here, because there's been some significant changes to our local recycling program that I want to highlight. On campus, we have a paper stream, and then we have a mixed stream for plastic and metal. You can see there what is allowed to be recycled, but what's more important right now is to talk about what is no longer recyclable or no longer accepted by our recycling program, because these items are, if people try to recycle them, are considered contaminants, and they can really reduce the quality and the amount of money that we get for recycled materials. So let's focus on this list right here. The biggest change is that we are no longer accepting glass. So that includes bottles and jars. The main reason for that is that glass is heavy and has high transportation costs, which reduce the amount of money that we can get for that material. Also, when the bottles and jars break, the glass shards contaminate the other streams like plastic, metal, and paper. And speaking of paper, some paper products that are no longer acceptable include glossy paper, so catalogs, junk mail, magazines, and food boxes. So think of cereal, mac and cheese boxes, and then the disposable cups, that could include to-go drink containers that you think are paper, right? So, but don't recycle those. Starbucks coffee cups, again, not accepting those. They have, like liners in them to keep them from burning, people's hands. And then, solo cups, right? So you can't recycle your beer pong cups or anything like that anymore. When we're looking at metals, no longer accepting hairspray or deodorant like aerosol cans. And then finally, plastic food containers, a couple of minor changes, no longer accepting like the yogurt or sour cream, things that are like that. So, there's all sorts of other know your nose over here that are common contaminants, styrofoam, tanglers, things like cords, hoses, and wires. We don't have a composting system at ECU yet, so we can't compost food waste or napkins, paper towels, and stuff like that. We had started a pilot program, a group of students in the entrepreneurship program. We're doing a pilot to start a composting business last spring, and they got everything off the ground after months and months of planning, and then everything came to a halt and the dining halls closed. So hopefully we can get that started back up again, but for the time being, those are not materials that we can divert from the landfill. And then last but not least, you don't have to bag your recyclables. That just is another contaminant that gets into the stream. You can just put things loosely into your cart or your dorm room bin or your office recycling container, and then take it to a collection bin. I do a lot of work with grounds, and honestly, a lot of the stuff that they do is to help reduce the need for irrigation, so saving water, also doing more native pollinator-friendly plants on campus. We also use smart irrigation systems, and we've done a lot of installations like rain gardens and constructed wetlands, permeable pavement to try and reduce, or try and mitigate stormwater. Stormwater is a huge issue in Greenville and around eastern North Carolina, and so the most water that we can retain on campus, also things like cisterns to capture that water and reuse it, is helping reduce the load on the local stormwater system. Here's a look at some of the efforts we did to earn Bee Campus USA. We do have 2 hives on Health Sciences campus near Lake Laupus. We put place in May 2019, and they're going strong. We also have Feed-A-Bee pollinator habitats around campus, a couple of those that were done through a biology department grant and graduate program, and then Science to Educate. The reason why all these things are important, why have hives on campus? Why establish and protect pollinator habitats? The truth of the matter is that 1 out of 3 bites of food wouldn't be possible without pollinators like honeybees. And unfortunately, there is a phenomenon that's taking place around the world where in the last 5 years or so, we estimate that we've lost over 50% of honeybee populations. And, we're not exactly sure, one root cause of that problem, but there are multiple factors that we know contribute to it. One is the increase in industrial agriculture over the last 50 plus years has led to pretty indiscriminate spraying of harsh toxic chemicals like pesticides, fertilizers, herbicides, things like that do kill bees. Another reason is loss due to human land development. And then finally, climate change is leading to milder and shorter winters. And when we, have winters like the one we did this past year, there's really only 1 week where it dropped down low enough and we got snow and stuff. But that's not enough to kill off the pests and parasites that prey on honeybees. And so those pests and parasites are able to reproduce more and expand their range and put more pressure on honeybee populations. So, the root cause is really people that's driving down populations of honeybees. And so we're trying to combat that by installing hives on campus, creating these habitats, and planting more pollinator-friendly native plant species, and just trying to educate people. In terms of materials management, we have a surplus store where, property of the university, desks, chairs, computers, lab equipment, sports and recreation equipment is all sent there when we're done with it on campus, and then there are sales that are open to the public. So it's just a big reuse operation, essentially. We encourage staff and faculty to purchase green products, such as paper with recycled content, or go towards more paperless procedures. Invoices, timesheets, things like that. The university also encourages the use of hub vendors, historically underutilized businesses. So these are women and minority-owned businesses that we can contract to do work on campus. And more important than ever is our cleaning practices. Coming into this fall, wanting to ensure the safety and sanitation of campus. Housekeeping has done a really good job using green cleaning and janitorial supplies that are certified by a third-party Green Seal. In terms of food and dining, we've got a lot of initiatives going on. We do have a freight farm on campus. It's located behind Jones Residence Hall. It's a used shipping container that's been converted into an indoor closed-loop hydroponic growing system where we can grow lettuce and other mixed greens and herbs and stuff. It's got the potential to harvest over 500 heads of lettuce a week, which is over 20,000 heads of lettuce a year. And that's the growing capacity that you could yield on 2 acres of land just in one shipping container. Everything from the LED lights to the water to the temperature and humidity, all that stuff can be controlled with an app on a tablet. And what we harvest from the freight farm is used in our dining halls, catering services, and food trucks. We're also recycling all of our used cooking oil, and back in 2007 we actually took trays out of the dining hall. So a trayless dining program offers multiple benefits, like reducing food waste, saving water and energy, and then also purchasing less chemicals and discharging less chemicals into the sanitary sewer system. So something as simple as taking trays out of the dining hall has multiple benefits. We do emphasize, try to make our campus bike and pedestrian friendly, and that's a testament to our bicycle friendly university status. We do have 3 electric vehicle charging stations, 2 on main campus and 1 on health science. And I've already talked a little bit about the transit system, but it is free to ride for students, staff, and faculty, and you can look up real time where the buses are located on their routes using the Next Bus. Small green building portfolio, but Croatan Dining Hall is LEED Silver, Ross Hall and Coastal Studies are LEED Gold. And I know that we're in the process of getting the reviews done on the main campus Student Center as well as the Health Sciences Student Center. But LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, and it's just, essentially a green building rating system. So here we are. I'm going to talk quickly about the outreach efforts. This fall is going to look a lot different, so I'm not sure what sorts of events or, what size of events that we'll be able to hold. So I do have backup plans in place for things like the Sustainability Film and Discussion Series, which this year is going to be the 5th annual Sustainability Film and Discussion Series. And we host these monthly screenings. The first one might still work out because I've got the lawn and the big Pirate Vision screen reserved for September 15th at 7 p.m. So we could space out outside. But again, we're just going to have to kind of wait and see. Keep an eye out on social media and the ECU calendar for links to the backup plans that we can do through, the virtual platforms. But these films are really, really eye-opening. You're definitely going to learn a lot about the issues that each one covers. And then after the films, we have a discussion that is usually led by an ECU faculty member or just a local expert on whatever the subject matter is. So it could be anything from, energy to transportation, ocean conservation, food. We cover an assortment of different topics throughout the year, and there's 3 screenings in the fall and 3 screenings in the spring. There are some student groups on campus. Eco Pirates is the one that I work most closely with. I'm not sure what their meeting format is going to be, but I do know that they have room 206 in the Student Center reserved every Monday at 5 p.m., but they may go to virtual meetings. This group does waste audits, fundraising events, river and greenway cleanups, and they work with a lot of other student organizations like Relief, the Coastal Society, American Fisheries Society, and the Biology Graduate Student Association. I also, one of the other unique parts about my job is that I get to do a lot of work with local groups in the community, such as Love a Sea Turtle, who do youth leadership development, working on environmental stewardship projects. The Tar River Beekeepers, the North Carolina Beekeeping Association is the largest in the United States, and the Tar River Beekeeping Association is very active. FROGS stands for Friends of Greenville Greenways, and without FROGS, advocating for the better part of 30 years before the first, section of Greenway was ever laid, we wouldn't have the wonderful Greenway system that we do, and that is also currently expanding as well. They just broke ground recently on another phase to expand the Greenway and extend it beyond from Town Commons by First Street all the way out to essentially over by Health Sciences campus. So we have a wonderful Greenway network. If you haven't been out there, get out on the Greenway. It's a great way to reduce stress, get some exercise, and just get outside and enjoy nature. Keep Greenville Beautiful is another group that I work with on reducing waste and litter and promoting beautification projects throughout the city. Sierra Club, the local chapter, is the Cypress group. And Relief, in addition to being a student organization, is also a community group that plants, protects, and promotes the value of trees in our community. Here's a look at the Greenville Community Garden that I manage in partnership with Love a Sea Turtle. It's located at 209 Stansel Drive, which is actually just right off of the Tar River Greenway, just a few blocks from campus. And we have work days. Usually they're about once a month, but I think this fall we're going to be doing them more often, probably every other week. And they're usually on Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We've been doing this since, COVID started back in early spring. And as long as we keep our numbers down, everybody can space out there and wear masks. Everybody's usually wearing gloves anyways because they're, working in the garden and stuff. But this is a wonderful opportunity to volunteer, earn some volunteer service hours to give back to the community. Everything that we harvest from the garden and the community orchard, which is right up the street, we donate to local food distribution outlets that are battling food insecurity in our community. So we'll be posting more dates for work days as we get closer to the fall semester, but just look up Greenville Community Garden on Facebook if you want to keep up with all the opportunities there. Look at some of our work days. We always have a good time out there and have fun. You got to dress appropriately for the weather, bring a reusable water bottle so you can stay hydrated. And, we usually send volunteers home with a little goodie bag of whatever we're harvesting at that time. And one of our partners that I'm really excited about that we donate food to is the Purple Pantry. And we're looking to expand that partnership this fall so that we can provide fresh, local or organically grown food, produce, fruit, and vegetables to our students here on campus. So look at some of our harvests. And then finally, I'm going to leave you with some tips to go green before we wrap up here. So the first one, and this is actually the most effective way that you can reduce your own personal carbon footprint, is by eating less meat. You can at first give it a try with Meatless Monday, or maybe just cutting meat out of your diet for lunch, every day of the week or something like that. Every little bit that you reduce is going to help lessen your impact. Unplugging electronic devices and appliances. There's something called phantom power or vampire energy, and essentially, the little red standby indicator light on your TV or the clock blinking on your coffee maker or your microwave. Those things are continuously drawing power, and if you unplug those devices or you plug them in a smart power strip, which cuts off that power, you can save 10 to 15% of your household energy consumption. So, this is just one example of how going green can save you some green in your wallet too. Another one is setting your thermostat to 68 in the winter or 74 in the summer. And if you can go lower in the winter or higher in the summer, you're just going to save yourself more energy and more money. Only running your washing machine and dishwasher with full loads. Don't buy bottled water. Just get yourself a nice reusable bottle and use the bottle refill stations on campus. It takes so much energy, petroleum, that in order to manufacture that bottle, to fill it up, to transport it, sometimes around the world. If you're drinking Fiji water, it's traveled thousands and thousands of miles just to wind up on the shelf, and then you pick it up and take it home and drink it in 2 seconds, right? The same goes with plastic bags and plastic straws, plastic utensils. All these things require so much energy to produce, and then we use them for 5-10 minutes at most, and then they just persist. They last forever in our environment and contaminate. So it's just ridiculous. Try to reduce your consumption of single-use plastics. Alternative transportation, bus, bike, walk, carpool, biking and walking, active transportation modes. These are going to contribute to your health too. They're going to help you improve your health and well-being while also reducing your impact on the environment. And then a lot of people just focus on recycle, but that's actually should be the last resort. Really, we need to start by rethinking our consumption practices, our habits. Do we really need to buy that thing? Can we just keep using that? Do we need that new outfit every, when the seasons change and stuff, fast fashion? So rethinking purchases and then trying to reduce our consumption overall, and then reusing things as much as possible. And finally, educate yourself and spread the word about environmental issues to friends and family. So you've sat here and with me for the last 45 minutes and learned about these things. Keep continuing to educate yourself. 350.org is a wonderful resource, as well as the Sierra Club and all sorts of other organizations organizations out there. The information is there. Go out and learn about the issues and help raise awareness. Another way you can do that is our website, sustain.ecu.edu, has probably more information about sustainability on campus than you'd ever want to know, but it's a great resource, and that's also where we have our live feed of our beehives on there that you can see, and then you can keep up with us and get reminders about events and volunteer opportunities at Sustain ECU on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So that ends the presentation part. Now I am going to turn my camera back on, stop sharing my screen, and the last thing I want to leave you all with is to mask up, pirates. You know, we're all in this together, and you can keep yourself and others safe by wearing a mask, social distancing, and let's get through this together. Let's protect the pirate nation and be kind to one another. This semester is going to be tough. It's going to be different, but you know, if we really all come together, ECU united, I think that, you know, we're going to get back to normal soon enough. So thank you all very much, and I look forward to working with you to improve the sustainability of our campus.